Well, at least things look like they're going in a positive direction as compared to last year. We've retained more staff in the building, which is a wonderful thing. Additionally, last year we spent $40,000 on substitute teachers. This year we only spent $34,000.
Excuse me, we spent on what again?
Substitute teachers.
Okay, I didn't hear the first word. Thanks.
You're very welcome. And then as soon as I get over to it, for paraprofessionals, last year we spent $15,000. This year we spent $17,000.
We're talking about substitutes again?
Substitutes, yes. So there's a little bit down, a little bit up, but so far overall we're holding out in the black, which is a wonderful thing.
Sure is.
As far as the rest of it goes, nothing too wonderful to report other than the fact that, again, luckily all numbers are showing a downturn. So we're keeping more staff in the buildings. So we'll take it as a positive and keep going forward.
Any questions on that? Special education update report.
Okay. If you would kindly look at your monthly budget data spreadsheet, you will notice on the very bottom that we have a net deficit of $339,205 to date. Our largest portion of expenses is obviously our out-of-district LEA students, or line item, I should say, at $1,319,270 in the red. This
Essentially, hold on, it's on the back page of the one that she's referencing. You turn it over, monthly budget data. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay, we'll turn it over.
First page and then
Okay, so that out-of-district LEA deficit is to date, so that includes all of the out-of-district students that have been placed since July 1st. Except for 5 that are pending, and those 5 on average would increase that by $200,000 approximately, and that would include transportation as well.
Can you explain pending?
Sure.
Where they are in the process.
So they're in the process, so referrals have gone out to some schools. Parents, the process is schools get the referral, they review it, they call the parent for a tour, and then the parent gets to choose which one they.
Are these district placements, our placements?
I can tell you that since July 1st, there was 34 referral placements. 8 of them are new this year that I have been responsible for. You should have the outplaced spreadsheet with a very brief description of why they're being outplaced. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention was the transportation at the very top. I was kind of calculating, and I was looking at the total cost of transportation for last year as in comparison to this year. We spent $1,596,000 last year, and it was actually budgeted less for this year. So we will probably go to deficit there as well. We do get reimbursed for the homeless, transportation for the homeless, and partially from DCF placed students. And I think I provided us information on that. which you'll see to date, we this year have been reimbursed $55,000.
The reimbursement for transportation comes back to us.
It does.
Yes,
That
and we
comes back.
verified that that does get posted as a credit to the expense in the world. We verified that.
And their district placements, are they for the remainder of the year or just for a number of weeks, like it is with DCF and other placements?
Well, typically, the other placements that I have recommended are pretty medically fragile or severely emotionally. So they're probably going to be for more than a year. Unless we can create programs in-house to service them when people need it. But at this point, we do not have that ability.
That is one of the things that we're looking at, is that if I were telling you my complete wish list, one of them, and I know that it's on Paula's wish list as well, is to have the funds to be able to do a complete and thorough analysis of our special education services, to determine, are we appropriately staffed? Do we have the ability to offer programs in-house? If we do, what will they look like? How should they be staffed? So that really that's something that Paula and I have on our wish list, and this being the season, this would be the time to have it on the wish list.
Or possibly regionalize it, talk to other superintendents, other districts, and see if we could share some of the expense of providing.
And that would be something that, as, again, looking at, let's have someone, we would love to have someone come in who has the time and the wherewithal to be able to really thoroughly analyze that. And if that's the recommendation and we can look at that, that's wonderful. But at this point, we don't have the ability to do that kind of thorough analysis and maintain what we're doing right now. So that's where we need the help, to have someone who's got the expertise to come in and do that, and meet with us and meet with our staff and observe what's going on, look at our kids, look at our outplacements, look at our processes and procedures, and to make a recommendation that we can then act on. So that would be my wish list, is to be able to say, please, let's do that, because we're not, I don't think, doing our best for our neediest kids.
I don't think we can continue doing it this way.
I would agree, and especially looking at the funding and the way this works, if this is not working, and we know that.
As the type of analysis you're talking about, has it ever been done in the past to get to where we are now?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe we've ever, I think we've done it the way a lot of districts continue to do it, which is we muddle our way through and keep hoping that we're doing the best we can and making what small changes we can.
Because obviously what we're doing is not working.
That's exactly right. And that's why I've got on my wish list, is to have the funding available to be able to do this kind of analysis and create better programs and get the cost under control.
And other districts are having the same issues, so
Right.
that's why we need to, and it was discussed many years ago, but it was cost prohibitive to do it at that point, but it's certainly worth the discussion at this point.
Well, considering what our overage is,
Right, I think it would
certainly
be
the,
cost effective to create our own program.
At this point, it would.
I was speaking with the superintendent of another district this week, and they're looking at an outside company. There are companies out there, ESS was mentioned, there's a cost.
I actually have a meeting with ESS.
Okay.
Coming up in the new year.
That's where I was going to. They come in at a set cost. It's $250,000 or more, but.
Well, they also, again, I haven't sat down with them, but I briefly spoke with one of the recruiting directors.
Their sales.
Yeah, and they have a very high success rate of keeping kids in. Now, they are more geared towards the secondary level. I think our large population of our district is elementary. They are moving to that area, so.
And they're also geared more toward behavioral issues.
Exactly,
rather than
yes.
other things.
And a lot of ours are severely autistic or medically fragile,
Okay.
so we have a large population.
There is a cottage industry going on that keeps it, and the benefit to to our children, which is the end result of what you're looking for, is that you're not busing them or transporting them for an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon, putting them more at risk on the highways.
Yeah, yeah.
If it can be brought in district at a reasonable cost, it's just
Right,
better for the
just look
kids.
at the transportation of out of district.
And if.
I'm thinking more of the risk than the cost too. I mean, that's a risk to the children.
And if we were able to do some type of analysis, not only could it be more cost effective, but we could be providing better education to our students, and, you know, and embodying, educating them in the least restrictive and most appropriate environment.
Absolutely, that's one of the things we'd like to look at is how are we, not, it would, a thorough analysis of our special education services, our student services would include what are we doing, for example, for RTI in the classroom so that we are not moving into a special education situation. So we're really looking at a complete overview of everything, not only, you know, our outplacement, but what are we doing to help educate and take care of our kids before we get to that point.
Oh,
So-
utilizing our staff, servicing appropriately. As opposed to, as it should be.
Thank you. New course curriculum, UConn for Spanish speakers.
Susan and I have discussed this, and after having re-reviewed the course proposal, we would like to pull this back until next board meeting, because we don't feel that it's been thoroughly, we're not happy with it. Let's just put it that way. We're not happy with it at this point, and we don't feel that I can't support it in its current form. But I'd like a chance to look at it. If we can bring it to the board in January and it's voted that we can do it, it's still in time to be included as an option for course selections in late January. So it may not be in the course catalog, but it would be available to students, and the guidance counselors would know that.
Yes. Are you still planning to bring curriculum drawing one from the November meeting forward?
Yes, both in January. And again, it's not ideal to, we'd love to have it in the printed catalog, but it could be included in the online catalog, would be included in the course selection materials that are provided to the guidance counselors, so that they will be available for student selection. They just, we looked at this again, and I don't feel it's
My only
ready.
question would be procedurally, I believe the policy states that we have to receive it in December to vote on in January, which means if we receive it in January, does that now mean we have to vote on it in February?
Can we get it emailed to us?
That is how the policy's written, you're correct, and that came up in our previous meeting with that other one. I mean, I would think, my imagining of the intent of that policy is so that we have time to review it before we have to decide as to whether or not. I don't know if
We
that's.
we can do it and just make it available later. I mean, students make their initial course selections in January. If it were brought forward in January and voted on, and then we weren't going to, I mean, it could be something that is not implemented until later on and still be included as part of the selections for the coming year. It just wouldn't be, I'm not explaining that.
No.
We just
I've
wanted-
lost my powers of articulation apparently.
The intent of the policy was so that new curriculum wasn't being introduced at budget time when we didn't have the proper time to vet what exactly we were agreeing to through the budget. So that's where the December date came from.
And it should be, give students enough time to sign up for the courses, so I understand that. But do we have a staff member that's certified by UConn to teach this class? It says, it doesn't state that in the effect of staff.
Not at this time, he would have to get the certification. So we need to really work with high school staff on the implementation of this, and that's just how we work.
Is there a cost to receiving that certification?
I would assume so.
I believe it is.
So then I would think, like, completely just my opinion, but if we could get this emailed to us, like, in a week from now, and we
Sure.
still have a few weeks to review, I don't know what anybody else thinks of that, but I would think that would still give us enough time. It was technically proposed tonight, and then maybe we could have the financial implications in the May.
And the cost is not that expensive, but it's, you have to have the criteria that UConn approves, so masters in that subject area, et cetera.
That we have.
And this is, I know, so it's not a board level thing, but just out of, if 6 kids have applied for the course or tried to enroll in the course, would you run it? Are you looking at enrollment, you know?
We are looking at enrollment. That is one thing that is, as Susan and I have been putting together the budget preparation process, and that's one of the things that is definitely in the package, is that you need to look at enrollment. We know that we have some issues in enrollment, especially at the high school, and so we are looking at that. The way that it's been handled for the more advanced language classes tends to be that, for example, Italian 4 and Italian 5 UConn are run together at the same time. So that if we have a small enrollment in those kinds of classes, that we would run 4 and 5 together and teach them using differentiation in the classroom as far as that. So we wouldn't have one teacher teaching a class of 6 and another class of 5, they'd be teaching one class of 11. So that's what we tend to do with the youth, especially with the higher level language classes.
And once again, that's your job to, yeah. The enrollment size obviously impacts cost down the road and all that, so.
Right, and we know we have some issues with that at the high school, and we're trying to address that this year.
Is this the only Spanish 4? There would be a Spanish 4 and a UConn Spanish 4.
No, there's a Spanish 4,
So you would have 2
right.
Spanish 4s.
And it might be that the Spanish 4, this one is a Spanish 4 for Spanish speakers, so it's a very specific
Right.
type, it's a different class from the regular Spanish 4.
UConn criteria is just pretty high for the students to enter into the program.
Right. But we'll have better information for you by the end. We'll try to get it out for you within the week. I'm sure we can do that.
Any other questions?
Okay, field trips.
Okay, we have 2. One is for this year, which is a trip to Quebec City for, I believe it's a French 3 and 4, and French 2 students who are in the French club. They did not give us an estimated count, just I saw that, but looking at the enrollment in French 3 and 4, we're probably looking at between 20 and 25 students.
This is 20 students per district.
20, okay. So that's about, depending on how many from the French 2. We're looking at 1 chaperone, that would be a teacher. This is a teacher who teaches 3 periods a day at the high school, so we're looking at half the sub. And the other chaperone would be a parent volunteer. It does say possibly 2 teachers, although we try to stay away from that because with the budget freeze, we're really looking at between subs. We haven't obviously frozen the subs because we're going to have people who are sick, but we're looking to minimize that. So with half the sub, we feel that we can manage that. Having done this trip as a chaperone and the Quebec City trip, it's really a fantastic experience. It's really like being in old Paris.
It's as close as you can get to Europe.
It is. It's a wonderful trip. There's a lot of historical significance to, as far as history, the battlefield that's there, being in the old city. It's, I mean, looking at what they put on there, this is a trip that I feel would be a really good experience for our students who speak French. It is as close to Europe as you're going to get without crossing the pond.
Why is it coming so late to the board?
This one was, we approved it, it was approved back in November. I believe we got it a little late. Then, and I think it was too late for the November board meeting. So we didn't get it until 11/16. And one of the reasons that I held back on it was I wanted to make sure I had all the information. But the other issue, quite frankly, is I was hoping to put a little bit of distance between the board's contemplation of this trip and the events in Paris, to be very honest. I wanted us to be able to make a more measured response, and so I deliberately held it back for one more board meeting.
I just thought out of state or out of country was supposed to come the year before.
There. 60 days.
It says, oh, out of state. I think they read out of state. I think it was out of country. They were looking at the form.
Right.
Sorry?
No, it's fine.
It says out of USA trip needs BOE approval, but on the cover sheet, it says that out of state or overnight is 60 days prior. And that's what they were looking at.
Okay.
But that was the reason for holding it back, was I was just hoping for cooler heads to prevail and that we could make a decision that wasn't quite as fraught with emotion as it might have been last month.
Question on the cost. Is it $50 per period? So it's really $150?
No, it's $100 per day, but we
Right.
only need the sub for her for half a day.
So 50 is the half a day for the 3
Yes.
classes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to bring this up now, I guess, because I totally support travel experiences for students. I just worry about going out of country, with everything happening in the world. And if we support it, does it look to parents that we're supporting it, so therefore it's okay to go on this trip? Just a little worried about it. I don't know how everybody feels about the out-of-country trips.
I think making them available to parents, parents get to make their own decisions on that. But you can't crawl into a bunker. And if parents want to withhold their children going on something like that for their own reasons, that's their choice.
Because there's cancellation protection, I presume, that if something were to occur a week before, that we could cancel.
If we have insurance, please.
The total cost of the district is just the cost of the substitute.
Substitute.
The kids are fair on cost.
I'm not sure that our country is safer than other countries.
That's true.
anyway.
Good point there.
A lot of people have problems with Canadians.
They might come back nicer than they left, right?
I think that we should, that we should approve this request, and I agree with Peter. If parents want to withhold their children from this experience for their own reason, that's a decision for them to make, not us.
Any other discussion?
Do they do any fundraising for trips like this?
She hasn't indicated that they do for this one. They do for the Italy trip, and I believe they do the Spain trip. But I don't, this is a new one, this is a new opportunity, so I'm going to say no. But certainly that's something we could ask, that they give an attempt to.
I mean, just personally, I would like to see that for a trip that is so expensive. I think we have a lot of students that couldn't afford that, and you want to talk about kids being singled out with the cheap sandwich. How about being the only kid in their French class that can't afford to go on a field trip? Right, if there's
In middle
no-
school, they used to go to
nothing-
Quebec and they used to do fundraisers. for
Yeah,
that.
they still do.
And we're trying to make them aware of these issues.
Action items.
And the Italy trip,
And
sorry.
then the second one was the Italy trip. That's the one, that is a standard trip. I don't know how long Ms. Lascari has been doing this trip, but I know it's been every year that I've been aware of. And
And they do it in the summer, right?
they do it in the summer, they do it at the end. Yes, this would be from 6/26 next year until after.
2017.
2017, so
Yeah,
it's
very
every,
good.
yeah, it's every, this one has, she puts this out there ahead of time. Again, it's the same reason for, I mean, as you look at it, it's approved by district administration, and they're saying, yeah, okay, we'll move it to the board, 11/17, but once again, chose to hold it for this meeting, for the same reasons.
Any questions on that one?
Just under the funding source, this is 3,500 entirely by student or fundraising $3,000. Are they finding ways to fundraise $3,000 per student?
And usually they do.
Yeah, they usually do.
They usually do.
Whatever they're doing, more people could do. That's great, I mean, that's tremendous.
Well, basically,
you
they have
know.
a whole year, that's why.
Yeah.
It's over a course of a year that they have them. It's not a, like Quebec is a 3 month. That's different. I helped her spin through when my daughter went, she had 4 months.
Because Quebec is this year, do we remind staff that it's a year in advance for out of country?
Yes, on the cover sheet, it does need to be clarified.
I think part of the logic behind that too is because some students are gonna need to get passports. There's lots of things, not just the field trip. Okay, action items, monthly financials. Can you get a motion to?
I'm sorry, can you speak up, please?
Can I get a motion to approve the monthly financials?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, approval of 2015, 2016 budget amendments,
Make a motion.
Second,
discussion?
Who's second?
I did.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? Approval of capital budget 2016, 2017, and submission to the city.
Do we have an action item for the South School?
Right.
That's-
And
It's H, it's H.
Do we need to approve that before we approve?
Motion to move H to the spot.
Motion to approve H now.
Okay, motion to move H now.
Second,
That'll work.
Any discussion on moving Southeast School discussion prior to the approval of the capital? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, so Southeast School. So we basically need to entertain a motion on what we want to do with Southeast School.
I move that the Southeast School be returned to the city
At the end of the school year.
at the end of the school year, next year.
And are we making, is the motion friendly amendment to that, if I may?
You can ask.
Is this discussion to enter discussions with the city as to whether they'll take it back? I mean, do we have unilateral decision to give it back to the city, or do they have to approve it?
They have to take it back.
Pardon?
They have to
They
take
have to take
it
it
back.
back.
They have to take it back.
It's their property.
Then
Oh.
I second that motion.
Any discussion on?
They know it's coming back.
Yes, yes, you do.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed, yes. Okay, approval of capital budget 2016-17 and submission to the city.
Make a motion.
Any discussion?
So is there a capital subcommittee that's already gone over this? Or is tonight the first time we've seen these numbers and are asked to say that they're,
Tonight's the first time, I mean, it goes as a placeholder to the city, and then it will be discussed.
so this isn't a
as it was
final?
During budget season.
I'm just, I'm in
This is far from final numbers.
Right.
Got it. I mean, I'm looking at a $250,000 or so for technology that we pulled back this year, and we're looking at 1.5 for next year. As long as, yeah, I'm not sure that I, as a board member, wanted to spend that amount of money, so, but we'll have a chance to act on that later.
Ample opportunity.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Then my discussion part is over.
We hope not. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor? Opposed? So we're removing action item D. Can I just get a motion to remove action item D?
So moved. Second.
I'm sorry, Jess and Dylan?
Any discussion on removing action item D? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Unanimous. Approval of field trip to Italy.
Move to approve.
I'll do a motion, or second,
Second.
second Peters.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Entertain a motion for an approval of field trip to Quebec.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to vote against the consent agenda. I would utilize my right to pull the business manager, Ms. Potter's resignation off the list, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm voting against it because I would like to have more input on how that situation all transpired, and probably won't get it, but, so I'm just gonna vote against it. The consent
So
agenda.
you don't want to pull it from the consent agenda, you just are going to vote against it? I just want to be clear.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just giving a little reason why.
Okay. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Question, procedurally, can we just post somebody on the list? Is that what we can do?
You can ask the person that did the motion to amend their motion to remove somebody.
Just a question I had.
And then that one would get voted on.
I'm gonna abstain on this one, just because I'm not totally familiar with what the consent agenda is, but I'll get that education when it doesn't burn everybody's time.
It's basically appointments and resignations.
Appointments and
correct?
resignations.
Oh,
Okay. And then the only person on the consent agenda is,
No, there's a list of people.
Keep going further in your packet.
Second to last page, or, yeah, second to last page.
Before the,
Comments to you later.
and we're voting on not only the consent agenda, but all the board meeting minutes too?
No, that's on the next page.
Okay.
That's all part of the consent agenda.
Yeah.
The consent agenda consists of the list of meeting minutes, the November 18th regular Board of Ed, the subcommittee budget policy, school improvement, personnel, the 3 THS oversight, the appointments and resignations, and the notices for homeschooling is all part of the consent agenda. If you don't have the ability to vote on them, you can abstain.
Right. I understand that. I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't vote on that. But I have a question on the homeschool. Is that now is the time to ask it, or?
Yeah.
Okay. The homeschooling, I just want to make sure, once these parents petition us for homeschooling, is there some kind of monitoring system in place to, no, huh?
state of Connecticut doesn't require that.
I know it doesn't, I know it doesn't, so, I just, somewhat concerned about that, when people do that, just voicing it.
The big concern.
so I see we-
I question whether or not all of these items have to be voted as one block, being that some board members aren't at those meetings, but doesn't necessarily mean if they vote yes or no, they're actually voting yes or no based upon one item that they do not believe they should be voting on because they weren't at a meeting. So I think, I'm not positive, Mr. Trug, maybe you know, how we can break this down so each one of these items allows all the board members to vote on them separately.
It's up to the chair. It's up to the chair who makes the motion.
I'm gonna have to do some research into it, I'm not 100% positive, so we'll do some research and bring it back for next month's meeting.
That's a very good point, because the items are so different. You know, it's very different.
I mean, I know it can be done because it was done before
We have a
whatever year.
legal opinion in the file from Shippen and Goodwin that stated that generally, meeting minutes for subcommittees and board meetings, their appointments and resignations go into the consent agenda as one motion, unless the person making the motion would like to do them separately. So when the motion was made to pass the consent agenda, if the motion had been made to address them individually, then that would be how it would be addressed.
That was not included in the motion.
Right. So I'm just saying that's,
Just so
Yeah, so this
just so we're clear, that was not included in the motion.
those are all consent agenda items. How they're voted on is how the motion is laid.
Can the person who made the motion rescind that motion and bring forth a new motion?
I can, but I would prefer not to.
Is the idea that you just want?
Well, I'd like to
Mr.
let
Potter
you
be
people
brought
have an
separate?
opportunity, being that you weren't at the meetings, but maybe you would like to vote on the other items in the consent agenda. I don't see why you should be denied that just because you weren't on the board.
You know.
I understand you're very gracious at this point, but
I am.
I was in the same situation when I came, Andrew.
Let me ask one question though, because it seems to be related to this. I remember last year the discussion came up on exit interviews, and I know we lost a teacher recently. Was an exit interview done?
No.
How close are we? Do we have a suspense date or when you think you might have a process?
I would like to have a suspense date of when we'll have the process.
I tell you what,
That is a good
let's
idea.
let's go through ask the superintendent to perhaps
Sorry.
push that as a higher priority. I don't, you've got a full plate.
It's something that I believe that we do need to consider, but you're right, at the moment, that's not the highest thing on the list.
Could it be a personnel subcommittee maybe?
It's something, we can certainly discuss it. I mean, if the personnel chair wants to do that, that's fine.
You just hate to lose valuable people
Right.
from the district. You know, I know there's a lot of things that we just can't do, you know.
Okay, so at this point, we'll vote on Bill's motion, and then if that doesn't carry, someone's welcome to make a secondary motion. But Bill is not withdrawing his motion, so we need to vote on his motion. All those in favor of Bill's motion? Opposed?
I'll support you.
Abstentions?
there's negative repercussions to
Thick skin.
So motion carries.
Fiona, I'm sorry, we have 4 yea, 2 nay, and who abstained? Oh, okay.
Jessica and Joanne.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, comments for the good of the order.
You know what, I'll wait. I'd like to make
Well,
comments
I'll
if no
start
one else.
this way then, to be fair. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm going to pass.
Bill?
My only comment is to thank Ken for his services as board chairman.
Two things. One, also to thank Ken for being the board chair. And the second is, it was brought up a couple times, alternate places for SPED and Board of Ed admin buildings. There are other towns using old strip malls, vacancies, and refurbishing and making them large indoor classrooms, i.e. we have Kmart that's down there completely empty, that can be rehabilitated at the landlord's expense, not ours. And then we pay them rent. So, I mean, that could be a possibility for classrooms, Board of Ed. We have several other places like that around town. So just something to look at as well as alternatives. And our maintenance goes down.
I like Ken for his years of service and
Want me to double this way, Ken?
I'd like to know if Mr. Knight is going to attend the administrative negotiations meeting tomorrow. I was filling in as board chair for you because you were not attending. I'd like to not
I didn't
attend.
even know we had one.
Check your emails.
Check what?
You should check your emails.
This computer?
Are you going tomorrow? Because I'd like not to.
What time is it? Where is it?
It's mediation tomorrow night, Midgeon Avenue. It's going to be a long one.
Since the question.
I don't want to do your work anymore. Put it nicely.
Ah. Oh, you're asking me right now if I'm gonna be there?
Yeah, I don't plan on going, so you're going to need to be there. And I'd like to congratulate Fiona on her win and good luck. As board chair. Okay.
Well, on a positive note, it's a pleasure to serve on the Board of Education, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
And it's going to be interesting, and you know what, I just want to say really heartfelt.
Dan first.
I'm so quiet, I barely say a word, I tell ya.
Since when?
Since right now.
My apologies.
Never start something.
So, I just want to thank Ken, congratulate the new executive board, and welcome the new board members.
Thanks. My apologies. And you know what, more than just say thank you, Ken, you've done a thankless job, and I know you're probably not feeling appreciated right now, but the town.
Never really did, so that's all right.
And it is, you know, at any level here, this is a thankless job. At the board chairman level, it's really thankless. And I know that the city of Torrington, all of us can not say strongly enough, thank you for your years of service, all the hours that I know that you put in, and it's been very, very much appreciated, so, thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, can I make a question or ask a question out of order? What I would like to do is visit the schools. Do I need an appointment? Do I contact the principal? Procedurally, what has been our policy?
We're gonna be sending out an email with committee assignment, what you're interested in, for school assignments and all of that, and then we'll provide some detail in that.
May I visit a school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Please, do you have anything else or comments for the good of the order?
It's good, thanks.
Okay. And I would just like to say, you know, there's not a person that can say anybody worked as hard as Ken has worked over the last couple of years. A lot has been accomplished. I appreciate and hope he's gonna continue to work as hard as he has, and we can continue to move the district forward. Okay, committee reports, budget. Obviously, I don't think there's any need to go into in-depth discussion because we've already discussed it, but we're in a good place for starting to prepare for next year, and I'm feeling confident that in many years, we're in a good place to move forward.
Did we just attend subcommittee meetings?
Yeah, if you're not on them, anybody can attend any meeting.
Should, especially budget, should.
Okay.
Grievance committee.
We had no new grievances. I'm just following up with Joe on the past ones.
Okay, personnel?
Pretty much you heard the staff reports, which are all very good news, and obviously at the next meeting, now that we've got a full board and we're looking forward, we'd love to get the go-ahead to start putting job descriptions together for all the openings we have.
policy. We're busy.
We have new, we're going through all the policies and any new ones that are coming, we want to update. We have a medication update to do, disciplinary again, graduation policy, and many more.
School improvement, our chair is gone. but
He is
we
gone,
have-
I can speak to it, very sad that John is gone, he will be greatly missed. But school improvement, what we did within the last month was we met with the guys from Causeway. They came in and they, for free, offered us some advice, different ideas on how to spread the word about the district. And the meeting was a cooperative meeting between several different groups of people, and I felt it was very productive. I think that there's a lot that can be done to help present our district to the community that hasn't been done. And so it's exciting to look at those things and to look at practical changes that we can make to not only improve the image of the school, but improve the school.
CHS oversight panel was actually done kind of in conjunction with that meeting.
And I actually have an update to that. We wrote Mr. Pisco back into the system. He is actually going to be part of the school governance committee at the high school,
Oh,
and he'll be a voting member there. So we're going to kind of roll the THS oversight into the school governance, because we're basically doing the same tasks. So if you need any reports, I can actually push it from the school governance as well.
He gave me all the
Yes, the notes as well.
paperwork, everything. There you go. So I have that.
You can give it all back.
I will gladly hand it over to you.
And I'll give it right back.
okay, turf field committee.
We have approximately $7,000 remaining as a balance, and that money is now being looked at to put a track record board somewhere in the vicinity. Several options are there, and they're just deciding on that right now. And otherwise, it would be turned over. The committee will eventually be dissolved, but right now we're not dissolving it because of warranty issues. Until the warranty issues are resolved, not that there are any, just until they're actually resolved, then the turf committee has to stay in place so as to the record of the warranty items, so as to do.
How did it happen that there was an overage? Because,
Up through.
you know, previously there was, we needed to borrow money, we wanted more money, but now there's an overage.
As far as I understand, it's just more contributions, donations came in. And we're able to
more
raise
than-
more
okay,
money.
Okay.
And then something for the board to, we'll have to get involved with at some point with the city, which is how the time will be allocated. The school system will always have priority to utilize the facility, but when other entities want to utilize the facility, it'll be a decision that will be made jointly with the city and maybe mostly by the city. And, but I'm advocating that the Board of Education be involved in that process.
There's a state statute that dictates how the property gets used. It's
Okay.
not.
Then you'll have to, those.
No, they don't.
Because that is something that will involve the board and the city to work out and act nice with each other. That's about it.
Okay, anything else on turf? Okay, items for upcoming agenda, we have financial statements, committee reports.
Can I add at least a discussion about the development of a special education committee? It's such a significant part of our budget that I think we should at least talk about.
There's been some recommendation tonight that possibly we should also have a technology subcommittee.
Yeah, you could, I'm off the record.
What?
Well, originally in 2012, you guys put me as the technology subcommittee. So does that mean you're getting rid of me? I'm okay with that concept.
Absolutely.
That must have been an ad hoc committee.
Yes,
It
well,
was
every,
a board chair appointed ad hoc committee. It doesn't
Right.
exist anymore, because I'm not the board chair. You're out.
yes, all right, cool.
Calendar changes.
I'd like to maybe have for discussion so as to have the input of new board members who may or may not want to go along with looking into two items. The first item is looking into the item of replacing the current board attorney with looking for new legal counsel. And the second item is maybe the board members would like to look at going back to a concept of having 2 full board meetings a month and possibly eliminating some of the subcommittees. It was done years before. Maybe now that we have different board members, they might like to look at those alternatives. And then the last question is, what is going on with the superintendent search? I mean, that wasn't discussed. Or is anything being done, or we're gonna find out something in January?
This is just items for.
What's that?
This is just items for the next
Yeah,
meeting,
well,
it's not
I'm
questions,
saying
but-
then we
Well,
should
there's
have it
no-
as an item
Right.
discussion, but nothing's been done.
So you want that on the agenda for next month?
Yeah, and I'd like.
An update on the search?
Oh, there is a search. You just said an update
put
on
it
the
on the
search, so there is a
January
search
agenda.
being done?
We need a superintendent, right?
I don't know, have we done anything for that search?
So that's what you want answered at the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll wait another
Okay.
month to find out if we're actually searching for the superintendent. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from anybody else?
I would like to see, and I don't know if this would be appropriate to the next agenda, or, but just so I'll throw it out there, some sort of training for new board members, and maybe some team building things early on, so that we can all work together and get to know each other and get to know what's expected of us. Something would be helpful from maybe a legal standpoint. What are our boundaries? What can we do? What shouldn't we do? I mean, I've been here for a year, and so that's still helpful to me.
Does
So-
CAPE still exist, or does the state?
Yes, it does. And actually Winston is holding some, it's in the Welfare Republican, that Winston was holding some meetings for their board, training sessions for their board at state expense. Nice.
Well, they get the state expense covered probably.
Maybe we can piggyback on it.
Well, we don't, right, because we don't actually belong to CAPE because it's cutting the budget, so.
No, but the state is providing some training for the Winston board, and I don't know if we can, if there's an extra body in the room.
There's a reason for that.
Well, I understand. But if there's an extra body in the room, doesn't matter.
Right.
We don't want to be there.
Especially the legalities of our position.
Right.
It's important to be aware of that.
Okay, future meetings. School improvement, community relations, and policy on January 6th, January 13th, personnel and budget, 20th is regular Board of Ed meeting.
Since there's no chair of school improvement, can we have a meeting?
Well, hopefully, idealistically, you can see what everyone's interest is.
And that will be decided in a week.
Has to be approved by the board.
Yeah.
You won't have
You
new
won't have
chairs
school
until after
improvement.
the January meeting.
So that committee won't meet, so policy go to 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock.
That would be great.
Could we look at moving school improvement to the Wednesday following the 20th? So that there could be something approved at the meeting on the 20th?
For the next meeting, which is a week after. Wednesday for us that go to every. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, not everybody comes to school in group. That's like the least attended break so far.
But there would be
But no,
another, there would be
you're right,
another one
yeah.
the first week in
Yeah, no,
in
that's a good point.
February,
I was just
so,
thinking about January.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good point.
New policies.
So move policy to 6 and no school improvement.
No, you wanna make the
Motion
motion
to
adjourn?
adjourn.
All those in
Have we
favor?
got to do that before you?
Who seconded? Sorry.
I can give it to Bill.